have you ever looked at two products that seem exactly the same but have totally different prices? And you're like, what's going on here? Or you know that feeling when a company seems to know exactly what you're willing to pay? Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain. We're decoding the complex strategies and the hidden forces that are really shaping the marketplace that you and I live in every single day.
All right, so here's the plan. First, we're going to tackle the dreaded price war. Then, we'll wade into the fog of information. After that, we'll look at two big escape routes, differentiation and digital platforms. We'll also explore the cooperation gambit, when it's better not to compete. And we'll finish up with a look at how companies come up with a price for everyone. Let's get into it.
All right, first up, escaping the price war. You can think of this as ground zero. It's the one fundamental problem that basically every business out there is trying to solve. So let's start with a really basic question. Why isn't everything just sold at cost? I mean, think about it. If two companies are selling the exact same thing, shouldn't they have to keep dropping their prices to beat each other? You know, a constant race to the bottom until there's basically zero profit left? So why doesn't that happen all the time?
Well, that race to the bottom, it actually has a name. It's called the commodity trap. And for any business, it's the ultimate nightmare. It's that situation where your product is so standardized, so similar to everyone else's, that the only thing you can possibly compete on is price. And escaping that trap, well, that's the whole point of the game.
Okay, so this is where it starts to get really, really interesting. The whole game changes when we add a little dose of reality, which is that nobody knows everything. So let's talk about what happens in this fog of information. And check this out. This is a totally mind-bending idea from a Nobel Prize winner, Peter Diamond. He pointed out that if it costs you even a tiny bit of effort to find a better price, I'm talking a few seconds of Googling or walking across the street, that little bit of friction is enough to completely stop that race to the bottom. In fact, it can get so extreme that it allows companies to charge prices as if they had a total monopoly, just from that tiny search cost. Wild, right? And, you know, this uncertainty we have, it's not just about price, it's about quality too. And goods kind of fall into three buckets here. You've got search goods, you know the quality before you even buy. Then there are experience goods, you only figure it out after you've used it. And then, the trickiest of all, credence goods. This is stuff where you might never really know the true quality. Think about like a complicated car repair or legal advice. All of this creates something called asymmetric information. It's a fancy way of saying the seller knows a whole lot more than you do.
So, if you're a business, how do you escape that commodity trap we keep talking about? Well, you use this fog of information to your advantage. Let's look at two really powerful ways they do it: differentiation and digital platforms. Just take a look at this picture. It's incredible. It's a village in Poland, Suloszowa, where basically everyone lives on one single street. And believe it or not, this is a perfect metaphor for that first escape strategy, product differentiation.
Okay, now imagine that's not a street. Imagine it's a spectrum of what people want. Let's say we're talking about mattresses. On one end, you have super soft, and on the other, rock hard. What companies do is they strategically set up their house, their product, somewhere on the street, and they try to place it far away from their competitors. By doing that, by carving out their own little piece of the neighborhood, they don't have to get into a direct, nasty price war with the guy next door. Now, the second escape route is way more modern. It's about changing the game completely by building a digital platform. Think about it. The old way was a straight line. A company makes a thing, then sells it to you. But platforms don't do that. They create value by connecting different groups of people. Airbnb is a perfect example, right? They connect hosts with guests, but they don't own a single room. Or Apple's App Store. It's just a marketplace connecting developers with all of us, the users.
All right, so a company can try to be different, or it can just build a whole new playground. But what if there's another way, a kind of shadier option? What if, instead of competing so hard, companies just quietly agree not to? That brings us to the cooperation gambit.
This is something called tacit collusion. And no, it's not what you see in the movies with secret handshakes in some smoke-filled room. It's way more subtle. It's when a few big companies in a market just learn to coordinate. They set high prices without ever actually talking about it. They just watch each other and respond to what the other does until they reach this silent, unspoken agreement.
But here's the thing you have to understand. This whole setup is incredibly fragile. It's like a house of cards. It only works if the conditions are just right. The companies have to be patient. They have to care more about future profits than making a quick buck today. You can't have too many players in the game, And the market has to be transparent. You've got to be able to see if somebody's cheating.
So what holds this fragile truce together? It's a threat, and it's known as a trigger strategy. You can think of it as pure mutually assured destruction, like in the Cold War. The unspoken rule is this: we all play nice and keep prices high. But the second one of us deviates, the second you cut your price to steal some business, the deal is off. And we all go back to a brutal, bloody price war forever. It's the fear of that punishment that keeps everyone in line.
And this leads to a really fascinating and kind of spooky modern question. Okay, we know humans can learn to collude, but what about algorithms? You know, the AI that sets prices on so many websites these days. Could they learn to collude all by themselves with no humans telling them to? On one hand, people are worried because these things learn so fast, they could find a way to cooperate much quicker than we ever could. But on the other hand, there isn't much real-world proof of this happening yet, and people say it's actually really, really hard to program.
Okay, let's get to our final piece of the puzzle. This is where everything we've talked about, information, technology, strategy, comes together. What happens when companies move beyond just having one price for a product? Welcome to the world of having a price for everyone. And this isn't just one thing. It's more like a whole toolkit of pricing flavors. The simplest is group pricing. You've seen this a million times: student discounts, senior discounts, that kind of thing. Then you level up to menu pricing. Think about airline tickets, economy, business, first class, or software with different tiers. The menu is designed to get you to show your hand, to reveal what you're willing to pay. And then there's the holy grail: personalized pricing, where technology can create a totally unique price just for you. Let's dig into the psychology of that menu pricing for a second, because it's so clever. It's basically a screening tool. The company designs the menu so that we sort ourselves into boxes. But here's the really sneaky part. Sometimes the basic option is made deliberately worse, not to save money, but just to push the people who can afford it towards the premium option. It's all about distortion. But they also have to leave a little something on the table for the high-paying customers, a little bit of a good deal. Otherwise, everyone would just choose the cheap option.
But of course, we're not stupid. We don't just sit there and take it. We fight back. And our weapon is something called personal arbitrage. It's basically finding any clever way you can to get the lower price that wasn't designed for you. And if you want a perfect modern example of this battle, just look at Netflix cracking down on password sharing. That is a company trying to stop personal arbitrage in its tracks.
And this all leads us to the final big question. As technology gets smarter and smarter, as it learns more and more about each and every one of us, where is this all going? Are we heading towards a super efficient market that gives us exactly what we want? Or are we heading towards a future where the market is just perfectly efficient at figuring out how to take every last dollar from us, leaving us with zero surplus? What do you think? It's a pretty big question to chew on.